Welcome to Story Mode. For the last time we head back to 1987 to look at my favourite childhood arcade, Flashback. We've had a look at the amazing music in 1987, but just take a look at the movies. I can't believe how many good movies there were back then. It's incredible. What a year. Let's take a look at my top 3 favourite movies for 1987. Number 3. Everybody's favourite robot, RoboCop.
Drop it! Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Number 2, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Predator.
What is this?
I've had a few optional extras installed.
And for me, number 1 has to go to Timothy Dalton's debut movie, The Living Daylights. Arcades, what would we do without them? They basically started the video game craze. For me, it was with Space Invaders. I have so many fond memories of arcades. I remember playing the Commodore 64, the Master System, and the Commodore Amiga at my grandmother's house with some friends. And then we'd go up to the local video shop and hire a VHS tape. Do you remember them? A VHS videotape. I remember walking inside the video store and seeing what game they had. They'd always have a new game every month or two. I remember one time it was Dragon Ninja and I knew I was going to get addicted to that game. Me and my friend had just one game, 2-player Dragon Ninja. Well, what's better? And then we'd just have to hire a movie and get out of there. Well, I think we hired Predator that day. And then we'd go back and then going to the local 7-Eleven and for the first time seeing Shinobi. What a eye-opening moment that was. And oh man, I was so addicted to that game. I got so good, I could actually finish the game on one man and pretty much not using magic on any of the stages.
Tell me one thing, where did you learn to shoot like that?
7-Eleven.
And then going to the local takeaway shop and seeing some older game there, it'd be like a 1942 or a Ghosts and Goblins. It'll always be a game probably 3 or 4 years old at the time because hey, it's just a takeaway store. So what was I doing in 1987? I was playing arcades at an arcade centre in Melbourne known as Flashback. Flashback was nestled in the heart of Melbourne on Swanston Street. You wouldn't know it was Flashback, it's just a bland building with stairs going down, with a sign saying amusements and McDonald's. You would walk downstairs until you got to a fork. On the left side, McDonald's. On the right, Flashback. I can remember every arcade machine inside. In the centre was Space Harrier and Outrun, both full moving cabinets. It didn't just have great games, it had something else. It had atmosphere. So now we're going to take a journey down memory lane, where I'm going to talk about some of my favourite memories of Flashback. The first one is Street Fighter 1. Yep, Street Fighter 1, the full-size arcade machine with the massive punch pads. I was playing that game one day and I was so into it. I was up to Sagat, the last boss, and I was punching the pad so hard that I slipped and broke my wrist. I actually chipped the bone. And still to this day, when it's really, really cold, I can feel that pain and it reminds me of Capcom and Street Fighter 1. The next day, my mother actually rang up Flashback and explained that this machine caused an injury to her son. They said they'd look into it, and believe it or not, 3 weeks later when I was there was buttons there. They went to a 6-button configuration. It wasn't just me, it was worldwide. It was a hazard. Then there was the time I went to a computer shop not far from Flashback and bought the Commodore 64 game Impossible Mission. After buying the game, I went to Flashback to play a bit of Street Fighter. Yeah, I was obsessed with that game. I remember leaving the Impossible Mission in front of me on the control panel. I looked up and realised the time. I knew I was going to be late home if I didn't catch the tram, number 11 to West Preston. As I got on the tram, I realised I left my impossible mission back at Flashback. I got off the tram, ran back, and wouldn't you know it, it was gone.
Destroy him, my robot.
Now here's a funny memory. When I used to play arcade games at Flashback, I almost played every single game. Tron Environmental, Sidearms, Tiger Road, Outrun, APB, Road Blasters, I pretty much played them all. One day I was playing Sidearms and I heard
Or die.
I thought, what is that game? Where is that sound coming from? I looked over and saw this amazing cabinet with a big ghetto blaster on the top. It was Atari 720. And it now remains one of my favourite arcades of all time. Now the memories don't just stop in 1987. Can you believe this Space Harrier is from Flashback? This is the exact one. Not so long ago I was chasing up some arcade spare parts and I spoke to the distributor, Legend Allied. While I ordered the spare parts, I asked them if they could trace back my Space Harrier using the serial number. They said, sure, that'd be no problem. As I gave them the serial number, they told me the origin for that machine was Flashback. While I was there, I decided to give them all the serial numbers. Can you believe my Space Harrier, Afterburner, Outrun and Power Drift are all from Flashback? I can't tell you how many times I've played this machine at Flashback. I reckon I've played it over 100 times and I'm not kidding. I can complete every single course flawlessly. I used to practice on this machine for a video game competition. But this machine and I have a little bit of a dark past, and it's all to do with this badge on the steering wheel. I would have been about 14, maybe 15. And I got told they're going to move this Outrun to another location, an unknown location. And I wanted to keep some kind of memento. I remember prying off this badge, this Outrun badge, with my key. I didn't even damage it. I quickly put it in my pocket to make sure no one was looking, and I took it home. It's probably the only thing I've ever stolen in my life, and I felt so bad about it. And can you believe, something like 20 years later, when I bought this machine, it was missing the Outrun badge. And it's only recently I found out that this machine was from Flashback. So it's like it's come back to me, or have I put the badge on its rightful machine? It's the only thing I regret doing, but hey, it all worked out at the end. And maybe it was fate.
Operation Wolf.
Operation Wolf 1987. This was at Flashback, but I was too young to play it, so my uncle told me. But now I can play it any time I want because it's in my home.
Operation initiated.
And one of my final Flashback memories is not playing one arcade in there, and that was Combat Score. I cannot believe I didn't go out of my way to play it in the arcade, especially with that trackball.
Fire! Fire!
So that's the story of Flashback. It opened up in 1984 and went to 1989. Then a company known as Legend Allied Industries bought Flashback and changed the name to Time Zone, which is still around today. There were other arcade parlours in Melbourne, such as Orbit and 10-4 Amusements. 10-4 Amusements would have to be my second choice. They had heaps of Atari games in there. Gauntlet, Road Blasters, APB, they had everything. Well, that's the story of Flashback. I remember telling my mother in 1988 I'd love to have my own Flashback in my own house. And in 2018, that dream came true, with my own Flashback arcade, something I treasure every single day.